Hey everyone, Catch 'em All Collectibles here. In today's video, we're doing it. It's going to be a long one. We are recapping Charlotte Collecticon 2024. Great convention, as always. I'm going to do the Catch 'em All Collectibles mullet style presentation, business in the front, party in the back. Unfortunately, I don't have an actual mullet to point to here, but let's get right into it. A convention happened. All the great things that happened, all the highlights of the weekend, very rarely take place for me on the convention floor. Great times with great people, great food, all that good stuff. But let's start with the business up front. You had your entrance down here in the bottom right, along the stage right there. So one thing that I say, and the main reason I say all locations are generally good. A lot of people, some amount of people will talk about location. I just don't want people to hear and kind of write off, well, my location was bad, so I'm not going to change anything else. The amount of people that I've seen or heard say that they had struggles with sales and this and that, and then I think like I walk around and the amount of booths that don't have things, let alone good stuff priced well, they don't have stuff priced at all. And I'm not saying this about people within my section or within any of these circled sections, but just in general, like the amount of vendors who don't have things priced at all, don't have good things, don't have them priced well or at all, and then when you ask them, they just pull up TCG Player. It takes 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes to find something. If the internet's bad, it's like, what do we got going on here? So the main reason I say like locations aren't bad, all locations in Collecticon are good. There's a lot of luck in where the consumer will filter through, if they'll find that right person at the right time actually having the money they didn't already spend all their money. But one thing I will say, Ray, if you're listening, if you're watching, he was inundated. He was engulfed by the. We had the Yin Yang twins, and then we also had Jason Page doing his thing a couple separate times. I have a picture coming up in a little bit where you will see that his section was engulfed by that. That is always unfortunate. So you don't have any choice in the matter. You book a section and then you just see where you get. Unless you're one of the big guys, unless you're one of like the featured people that whether they're getting paid to be there, whether they're paying extra, I have no idea. So it's something outside of your control. Even though it affects you, it's outside of your control. You just kind of take what you can get. If possible, you would want to avoid the stage immediately near it, and you would want to avoid all the signing areas, because some of these people, their lines will be hours and hours long. Several hours long in some instances, and I've seen where lines like really take over this side of the section. So that's where the Pokenomics and crew were. That's where Ray and crew, and this is where myself and crew were. Overall, locations do matter to some extent. The biggest thing though is like that hour around the concert. Honestly, I would rather be near the stage than near the signings, just because that happens the whole time, whereas the concert is a more constrained thing, constrained to a certain hour. Sorry, I'm a little bit stuffy. Not really sick or anything to do with the convention, but allergies. We were out playing Pokemon Go today with the family, so just my natural allergies coming through. But yeah, anyways, unfortunately, we don't get our things actually on the map. This is something that I had edited in. Hero Quest, Zion Cases, Trollin Toad, PSA, Meta TCG, all those people getting actually put on the map. So this was the setup. This was the setup on day one. I had some pens to give away. I think I brought like 50 pens, and all of them eventually went. 20 or 5 or 50 pens. I think it was 50. I had stickers. I had my my banner, my not a banner, but I had my tablecloth type thing. All the branding there. One thing that I did do that didn't work well, I need to find a way to fasten these to the table, but as I have down below, I figured I'd bring my, like, hey, if you want to leave cards with me to consign. These things were like 10, 12 bucks on Vistaprint. They're actually like really nice, thick placards. Really, really cool, I think. But people were kicking them down like crazy, so I just moved them behind. I need to find a way to fasten them to the front of the table so they can just kind of hang there. I also got this one. You probably won't be able to see it very well, but it has my my Venmo, my Cash App, and then obviously cash is king, as I always say. So I've got my payment options right there. That was handy. Even through the case, people were able to scan that. Have your branding, have your business cards, have your stickers. Let me go back to the presentation before I talk for another hour and don't have the thing showing. I have slabs. I have good stuff priced well over here. I have good stuff priced well over here. This was pretty much everything. So one thing I normally do for conventions, I'll normally have everything filled, and I'll have things like, if you've watched any of these before, these things are usually stacked quite tight. Being that these are alt arts, it's nice to show the whole art if you can. If I had a lot of WotC is where I'll stack card, like half a card over the other half of the card, because the art only takes up half the box. But it was nice here to have less inventory and be able to just show all of it, show the entire cards. A lot of alt arts over here. I will zoom in close. Some of those are stacked 2, 3, 4 high, but for the most part, they're 1 high. You can see some black felt. Black felt on day 1 before I get started. I was thin on inventory. I was very light on inventory. A lot of things I've been sending to Fanatics to get the ball rolling there. Some amount of stuff I've just cast out. And yeah, I came along with stuff that I had bought quite recently. And on the right side, I've got some festivals. I've got, I will go through and I'll show everything that sold. I will talk about like what was selling well, what wasn't. I've got some web packs there, not versus web packs. Some of the stamp sheets from the stamp boxes, and then your obligatory Celebrations Charizards. I didn't have any PSA 9 or PSA 10 ones, I don't believe. Yeah, up there is a PSA 6 base unlimited Charizard, and then over here is a Japanese PSA 9. So that was my stuff. That was my good stuff priced well. One thing, as I said, I would show, Ray is somewhere in here, kind of engulfed in all that crowd. Definitely not a good place to be, but that only does last for an hour. You've got 7, 8 hours both days. Still would rather not be near the stage. Still would rather not be near the signings if you can help it. Everything got bought. Oh yeah, I show over here, Larry Fujisan, the man of many names. You got Benji down here. I bought $25. I bought one of my MetaZoo promos back, so I had to document that. And I think he's still holding some. I think he's diamond hands in at least one of them. But that was another one. I think he sold, I forget how many he bought, but he sold 2 back to me, I believe. And he might have 1 or 2 more. I'm not entirely sure. Here was a little deal that I did. Shout out to Pooping Turtle 69. He frequents Discords. He frequents the live chats and all that stuff. Pokeflips lately. So I actually did get to meet him. Great guy. Great cards too. I ended up buying a lot of his stuff, 75 to 80% depending on what it was. And yeah, by the end, after my buyout. So I will say day 1, Saturday, was the only day I vended. I had a goal on Saturday to just sell everything. I went in knowing that I had good stuff, priced well, priced at market, last comps, last sold, auction prices. And one interesting thing, I had a lot of people looking and I had no one shooting their shots. Like I probably sold $3,000 to $4,000, which was maybe 20% of what I brought. I sold those to the end consumer at 95 to 100%. Very little wheeling and dealing, very little haggling. People were just like, ooh, I want that one, and then they pay the amount. I priced everything. I would have come down 5 to 10% on about anything. Couple times I left. I had Benji watch my thing. I had different people watch my and it's like, people didn't really shoot their shots at all. If it was priced at 270, I would have taken 250. If it was priced at 110, I would have taken 100. But for the most part, I sold $3 to $4 grand. People just paying the whole shot. I sold several of the stamp sheets. I sold a handful of different alt arts, some of the higher end ones. I didn't sell any of the web packs. I had a lot of people looking at the stamp promos. No one pulled the trigger. Those ended up going into the buyout. No one bought any of the sealed. Those all went into the buyout. But it was just like the Black Label. Black Label got bought there. That was $500 alone. And then I sold, I didn't document exactly which cards they were, but I sold a handful of the higher end alt arts, $250 to $500. And overall, if I didn't take a buyout, if I just sold to the end consumer, I probably would have sold like a quarter to a third of what I had brought. I probably would have sold between 5 and 7 grand, but I ended up taking the buyout at like 80% ish, maybe slightly over 80%. And I got rid of just about everything. I got rid of just about everything in one fell swoop. And I did it at 4 p.m. I will go into the after hours. The bulk of this presentation will be what went on outside of the convention hall, because that's where I always have the most fun. But yeah, I vended between, I was there at 8 a.m. and I will rewind in time. I'll go over Friday and all that. But I was there from 8 a.m. till about 4 p.m. And then I got headed out to dinner, which we will recap later. But yeah, the next day too, just to finish out the con, I ended up buying that collection that I bought from Pooping Turtle 69. I immediately put out the next day. I put that out with Benji. Shout out to Benji doing a little bit of consignment for me. I think the only one that sold on day 2 was actually the Bubble Mew. And again, all this stuff was priced right at recent comps. I told him that he could take like 10% below, and just the bubble Mew went. I did have one person after my buyout, like 5-10 minutes after my buyout, they asked me if I had a bubble Mew, and I'm like, I just sold it. I'm packing up, closing up shop for the day. So nothing really to complain about there. Overall, I heard mixed things. I heard some people saying like it was better than Charlotte last year. It was worse than Charlotte last year. For me overall, I brought maybe a fifth of what I normally bring dollar-wise. To be honest, like I normally bring a lot. And I'm not going to be vending Chicago because I don't have as much right now. I've definitely sold down my inventory a lot better. I'm being a lot better about pricing things well on eBay, getting them out the door, maybe using that ad rate, using the promo. But overall, Saturday, it was hopping. You had to swim through the crowd to get anywhere. Saturday was really crowded. Sundays overall, as I said in my New Jersey recap, Sundays are generally the slower day. That's the day that I went with my children to New Jersey Collecticon. I would recommend anyone going. Like, if you want the best deals, most of the best things will sell. If it's priced really well, if it's priced too low, it's more likely to get sniped earlier in the day on Saturday, right? So if you want the absolute best deals, Sunday's a little bit tougher. The exception to that being if it's late in the day on Sunday and someone's not happy with their sales amount, if they had a certain number they had to hit, maybe you can buy out, maybe you can clear out a dealer on Sunday afternoon that kind of had a rough weekend that's looking to get a big sale. But overall, the con was a really good time. I think, again, mixed things. You're going to have, like, that's just inherent to everything. I've talked so many times about how many things have to go right to make a sale happen. You look at any one of these cards in here. If you go on eBay, a lot of these things priced at this amount, you'll sell 10 a day on eBay. Not you, like 10 will sell a day on eBay. And you have millions of potential buyers on eBay on a good convention day. I don't know the numbers for Collecticon. I know Gen Con happened the same weekend. They get like 75,000 people through. 75,000 people at Gen Con don't look at every single card in every single table. Say Collecticon gets like 20,000. I don't know if that's high or low. I don't know if that's a good estimate. If 20,000 people go through those doors in a given day, like on Saturday, do 2,000 see every card in your case? Maybe. 2,000 feels like a lot. I don't know. 2,000 would be, say it's 10 hours. It's not quite, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. I guess if you get there the minute dealer opens at 8 a.m. and then you stay till the minute it closes at 6 p.m., you do have a full 10 hours. Are you getting 200 people an hour across your table? Are you getting over three people a minute? Definitely not. So I don't know what the number would be, but you're not getting 1,000 or 2,000 people to look at every single card in your case. But yeah, so there's a lot of luck that goes into like what actually sells. You need to have the right person, right time. The amount of people I had look at the Greninja, love that card, I wish I could buy it. A lot of people really looked at this case and liked what they were seeing, but only a handful of sales, only a dozen-ish sales maybe, and then some from the other case too. But the convention was great. I did my goal of getting everything sold. I was fully willing and ready to take a buyout at about 80% of last sold, and I did get that. So that was great. I'm gonna move right into like that is the end. I'm sure my retention will jump off a cliff, but certain people are here for it. Certain people are here for the after hours, after dark, Dan recap of what really went down at Collecticon. That was the business. Now we're at the party in the back. Let's have some fun. Let me make sure I'm still recording so I don't speak for another hour. But let's see if I can wrap it up within an hour. I had like 35 pictures to start. Saturday. What am I talking about? Thursday. Leaving the airport, had to hit some, one thing I've been doing lately, and I'm going to probably get a little bit more aggressive with it, but I need to be careful. I fly out of Syracuse Airport very, very quick. I've never taken more than 15 minutes getting through TSA pre-check. So even if the general line is like bad, what's that? Bad is maybe 30 minutes at Syracuse. TSA is 15 minutes. They had to double scan both of my bags. For whatever reason, the bags went through, and they're like, no, we got to run them through again. They double scanned them, and then they searched my slab case. And I still made it through like in 10-15 minutes. So I was like 30 minutes until boarding, an hour till takeoff. So I'm like, yeah, let me grab an IPA, get the weekend rolling. Let me grab some pretzel breadsticks, whatever they were. That was airport food, but it was fine for airport food. This one was funny, funny/scary. Someone made a cardboard cover for this electrical box outside of our hotel. So a lot of parts of the West End on this weekend were under construction. Nice hotel, I think, but kind of rough setup with how much construction they had going on. It was a little bit weird. This was like outside of the building. If you work for the West End, if you work with like National Grid, if they have that in Charlotte, maybe someone should do something with that, because that was pretty sketchy. So Thursday night I got in, and yeah, this was the state of the out front of the West End. Thursday night, I contemplated going out to the bar with Ray and Retro and see who else would meet up. But we started talking. I think we started talking at like 10:30 or 11 p.m. Me, Ray, and Nick Retro in our hotel room. We talked till like 3 in the morning. We just talked about business. We talked about life. Whatever we talked about. 3 a.m. came, and then we're like, we should go to bed. We should go to bed. It's gonna be a big day tomorrow. It's gonna be going to Rusty's. I will throw up this shot. Let me make that thing move away. Okay, the thing's gonna cover it. The avias are off the ground. I can give confirmation that I can get in the air some amount. One part of my weight loss goal for next year, I'm actually going to hopefully, like, cherry on top, I'm going to be like sub 220 Dan, maybe 215 Dan is going to throw down a dunk. I'm not going to throw it down mid-game. I'm not going to be dunking on PK mid-game, whoever else happens to be there. 10 minutes of stretching, maybe a little bit of yoga, something else, get my head straight. Throw down one dunk. The last time that I dunked, I can't even remember. It's sad being 6'4" and 3/4 and not being able to dunk. So a big part of my like add-on stretch goal for losing weight this year and into next is to be able to get to where I can actually dunk. Not extremely comfortably, not mid-game, not throwing down alley-oops, but I want to get back to where I can dunk. Basketball game was amazing. It was a ton of fun. And before the basketball game happened too, we were hanging out in like Rusty's office. We were checking out all his inventory. I've seen them the past 2 years. That doesn't change how amazing it was. I held like the pre-release Raichu, checked out all the sheets. It's interesting to see like the third year in a row that I've been there, see how things develop, see how he moves different things around, see how his inventory storage system is. Always just cool to see that kind of stuff. But a great crew of people playing basketball. It was a great time. You've got Metakai, Dylan, you've got Ava, you've got Ruxin and his buddy, you've got Dan, Mimic Brew, got to meet him for the first time, Java, Ray, Radar, Wonder, Basic, Rusty, myself, Jake, PK, and Nick. I will say, I was trying to cherry pick early on. I don't have any of the videos. I think there's a couple different videos. Me like hustling, getting down the court, getting a nice pass, bricking it off the backboard. If you slow that video down, maybe the video's out there somewhere. If someone was trailing me, it could have looked like it was an alley-oop attempt off the backboard. I was actually trying to make the layup. I will come clean on that. I completely whiffed on the layup after hustling down the court. I think I scored once. I scored once. We were playing to 15, just counting by ones, not counting like two, just 15 baskets. And I scored one basket. A lot of rebounds, maybe a couple assists, maybe a couple turnovers. But I don't think I had any blocks, sadly. But anyways, great time. 96-degree weather. In hindsight, I mean, look at how you can imagine. Once we left this basketball game, we actually got rained on. Then we went into Rusty's place again, his office again. It smelled like a Collecticon in there. It smelled like a late night Collecticon trade night in there. I was a big contributor to that. I completely stunk. You can see a lot of people though putting in big effort. Then we got rained on. Then we went in. Rusty was the MVP there because he actually had a bunch of his old DCA Gaming, some of the Charizard Authority merch, some of his t-shirts. He was just throwing out dry t-shirts. I didn't put mine on for maybe like 30 minutes. I had to swap for my Java Akuma shirt. Once I stopped, I sweat for like 30 minutes after we got done playing basketball, pounding waters, trying to get rehydrated. Great time though, great time. My team did win game 1. 2 more games happened after. I spectated those ones. I was the water boy for game 2 because we actually ran out game 1 and I was dying. I subbed out for a few minutes. There was no water to come to my aid. I had to go back in without water. I was water boy for game 2 and then I was a pure spectator for game 3. Absolute blast. Always a highlight of the trip. I did call my little Quaxleys. I every night that I'm gone, 4 nights. 4 nights was a long trip. 4 nights was definitely pushing it. Don't plan on doing 5 anytime soon. Probably gonna peel back to more like 2 or 3 for most Collecticons moving ahead. But I did get a trip on the wheeler. I didn't ride the little one. I didn't do laps like crazy. I wasn't riding through all the trails. But after it got done raining, I took the 4-wheeler back from Rusty's main like office area back to his back house. And yeah, so I did get a little ride in there. I sent a little selfie to the kids so they could well, actually I was video calling with the kids at the time so that they could see I was riding the 4-wheeler. John just took a random candid. I'm a fan of people taking I'm bad at taking pictures myself, but I'm a fan of when people just come up to you, hey, take a picture with me, documenting everything, getting pictures with the homies. Always a good time, always a good thing to see. So I'm going to continue with Rusty's here. So while we were playing basketball, there were some very smart individuals. It's like, do you want to choose between 96-degree full sun for part of it, playing basketball on the concrete, or do you want to just rip packs like a madman? Do you want to rip packs like a degen? So you got Gary, you got Zach, and Charlie. Charlie will be in some of these pictures somewhere, I believe. But people were hanging out, people were degenning, they were ripping stuff while we were playing basketball. Once we got back, we joined in on the fun. We were ripping as well. I forgot to look it up. Oh yeah, so here's the whole crew. Gary Antoine, Jake, Charlie, John, Zach, Ava, myself, PK, Wonder, Ray, Medekai again, Dylan, Dan, Rusty, Nick, and Java. Great crew. Always nice to get the group pictures in. Sometimes, a lot of times, somebody will be missing. You don't get everybody and everything. That will come back in a little bit. We've got a couple little like funny photoshopped in moments where people missed the group shot, but we got them in there. We got them included. Absolute great time hanging out, just breaking off with groups of 2 or 3, talking with these people. Rusty, very gracious host, beautiful family, beautiful home, providing the lunch, providing the dinner, providing snacks. Zach came in a little bit later than some of us otherwise. He brought in like a bunch of French cruller, like donuts and all different kinds of stuff, all different kinds of snacks, all different kind of food. People throwing product around, ripping stuff. And I ripped a box of, oh no, was it Night Wanderer? I forget if it's Night Wanderer. I do have them on my desk, and I will show this too. Every convention, and I'm bad with it, I've not done it every time, I try to get a memento of some sorts. I try to get some cards. These cards are going to go into my children's binders. Some amount of them, maybe 1 or 2 of them, I'll put in my own binder. I did get a bunch of signed cards. Let me see if I can make this happen correctly. I can. So I got some signed packs. Some of them signed, serialized. I've got Ava's binder. I've got Pokemon Wonder. I've got Radar has a very beautiful signature. And not only did he sign like a bunch of cards, Pokemon Radar for me, I have like Radar signed for Rusty. Like Radar's beautiful R. He was just like, okay, I'm gonna do Rusty. I'm gonna do Jake. I'm gonna do Java, John, Ray. For whatever reason, John decided to just sign the names of tons of people. So I added a bunch of stuff to my PC. Got those beautiful Pokemon Radar SIGs though. Like when I sign something, it's just my name written out. Catch 'em all collectibles, all print hyphen Dan. I got some great serialized packs. I got some great serialized cards. I got some cards for the kids binders. And then my Memento. So merch changed recently. It used to be provided by Stream Elements. I'm going to take a quick sip. It used to be provided by a company called Stream Elements, and they got bought out by this company called FourthWall. So down below, you'll see my former desk mat. I had to remake a desk mat. This one is actually like stitched edges. I think it's like higher quality to get the stitched edges. I personally prefer not having stitched edges just because if something sits on the edge, it doesn't sit like perfectly flat. But anyways, I got all the homies to sign this. We got PK, H2O is better. Obviously, he had to do that. You got Basic Charlie. You got Jake and Sarah. You got Gary Antoine. You got Java, Ava, Ray, Retro, Radar, Gemmint Pokemon, Mimic Brew, Jake 1 of 1. Jake 1 of 1. You've got Medekai doing the Rayquaza sketch, like a bowling ball Rayquaza. You gotta love it. You got TCA. You got his wife and a couple of his kids signed it, and then you got Wonder. So a great memento. I probably won't use it every day as like my desk mat here, just because eventually I'll spill something on it, or eventually it'll just start wearing off. I'll put it somewhere though. I've had a few of these signed over the various conventions, and love having a memento to take home. I know like Chef at one point was having people sign one of his get ups, one of his chef coat things, and John PK will I think every Charlotte event, I think he had people sign like one of the Pokeball tins or an Ultra Ball tin, Great Ball tin. So getting those mementos, I took a picture of the serialized pack that Jake signed for me with Jake there. And as you can imagine, all these Pokemon people hanging out, just the degen stuff, the ripping the packs, and great time. Not covering everything, can't cover everything. I'm gonna give you an hour, and that's about all I can give you. So after Rusty's, I think like Oh yeah, shout out to Mimic Brew. Mimic Brew, as I mentioned earlier, I met him for the first time. His name is also Dan back here. If you've not, I'm gonna shout out some of the recaps that I remember people making. But Mimic Brew like was asking Rusty, go check out his channel because I think he dropped one video so far where he recapped like Rusty talking about the sheets, talking about the history of the different sheets in his collection. He also filmed, I guess I won't spoil it, but he also filmed Rusty talking about some other products, some other things in his collection, some other things in his inventory. So I might have even missed some of the things, but I saw him filming some of those videos while we were hanging out at Rusty's. So stay tuned on Mimic Brew's channels for those things. After Rusty's, though, we probably stayed there till 8 or 9 o'clock. Definitely getting a little late. Kids were starting to get towards bed, and we're like, okay, we should head out. The night was not over yet. We went to same place as last year. It was called the Public House. Amazing, amazing food. This was Retro next to me. He got a salad. This is a salad, believe it or not. There was chicken with it. It was a wedge salad with like blue cheese everywhere. You can't see green. That's my kind of salad. So shout out to Retro for getting my kind of salad. Getting one where you cannot see any green. It wasn't an antipasto, but it was Dan approved. It was Catch 'em All Collectibles approved. I got chicharrones with more of that blue cheese and some hot sauce. And I also got not boneless wings. Boneless wings are an abomination. Boneless wings are like, they're fine. They're more like nuggets, or they're more like, they're just chicken tenders that you dip in hot sauce. They are not, they are chicken breast tenderloins usually, and they're not wings though. I just hate that they're called boneless wings. These were boneless thighs. Boneless, I mean thighs beat chicken breasts all day, every day. Definitely blue cheese and buffalo dipping sauce. Those were fantastic. The chicharrones were fantastic. After that, I didn't get many pictures, but I got this super blurry picture. You got Ryan. I'm so, like, certain people, and it just is what it is, right? They have their name. They have their government name. They have their handle, their YouTube, their Instagram, their Discord. Everything will be different. I believe he's Armstrong on Discord, and then his name is Ryan, if I'm remembering correctly. Then you've got Drew, then you've got Ray and Retro, you've got Legend of Luke, and you've got PK. So I will not always be able to remember everyone's government name and their Discord name or whatever, but I do my best. It's very difficult. All the people that you meet on these weekends. One thing I love about this place, multiple things I love about this place, like 50 plus drinks on tap, 50 plus beers on tap. Maybe not all beers. I think there's dozens of beers on tap, but then they also have like seltzers and ciders and things like that. So 50 plus drinks on tap. Number 15, I believe it was. I think I ordered enough of them that I still remember the number 15. Dollar bills, y'all. It was like an NE IPA that was local to Charlotte. So when I travel, I like to get, I'm an IPA guy. I'm an NE IPA guy, Northeastern IPA guy. And I always try to get like a local one. I don't really just go get like a Budweiser or like a Coors. Like you fly across the country, you travel the world, and you drink a Budweiser at every bar you go to. If that's your thing, like that's perfectly fine. But I just like to try different beers from around the place. My memory's not good enough. My palate's not good enough. I don't have like the I have some like beer friends that are really into beer. They have that app where they track and they rate everything out of 5, and they have a history of like how many beers they've tasted over the years. I don't have that, but when I go somewhere, I try to try something new. Dollar bills, y'all, IPA. Maybe that will like commit to memory. Maybe I'll get that again next year. I don't remember it from last year though, I will say, because we did go to the Public House last year too. I forget if we went 2 years ago. I should have checked that recap. But anyways, place was fantastic. It was a great time. This takes us to Friday night. So if you want to do it in chronological order, you would have to skip back to the beginning. Saturday morning, we closed the bar down at like 2. We left. We played a bunch of darts. We played a bunch of, they also had shuffleboard. We played a bunch of bocce, and great time. PK and I were actually, I think we drank for free between midnight and 2. Because we were playing loser buys the drinks, and PK and I did not lose. So shout out to PK for he hard carried a couple of those games too. I was doing terrible. One thing I cannot hit the bullseye to save my life. I feel like my accuracy, like my grouping will always be tight, but I will paint the corners of the bullseye. I just can't hit it. The 20s, the 19s, we were playing oh man, what do you call it? Cricket. We were playing cricket. So you got to get 3 of everything, 20 to 15, and then 3 bullseyes. I was doing well. I was holding my own, getting the numbers, but like the bullseyes, I just can't do. So then the convention happened. Bar closed at 2. We went back 2:30, went to bed. Up at 7:30 because you got to be there at 8 at there at 8 a.m. sharp. Got all the badges distributed, all that stuff. Didn't get a group photo of the section. Yeah, I wish I would have gotten a group photo of the section, but I showed earlier it was mine and then Ray's and then Jake's. We had 3 full sections of people, lot of great people. You'll see some amount of them were in the group photo. Some of these people vended, some didn't. There'll be a couple more group photos as we continue on. But yeah, the convention happened. At 4 p.m. I was bought out. By 5 p.m. I left. By 5:30 p.m. I was showering, and then it was like a 20-minute walk. So I called the little quacksies at home, called the wife, called the kids, and did my daily thing there, keeping up with them, what they had going on back at home. And then we went to the steakhouse. We went to the Capitol Grill, and it was a fantastic thing that Pokey Chef, he was not here, he was in Gen Con, but he like helped arrange this thing for us, this group dinner in like their banquet room, their party room, whatever you want to call it. Pan fried. You will see a picture of all of these things because I'm the guy who takes a picture of my food before I eat it so that I can remember, so that I can capture that thing. Big food guy. Calamari with hot cherry peppers, prosciutto wrapped mozzarella with vine wrapped tomatoes. I'm not a tomato guy, so I did not go for that. But cherrywood bacon, Newski's double cut cherrywood bacon, Korean barbecue glaze, lobster and crab cakes. I went with the wedge with blue cheese and bacon salad. I went with the Kona crusted dry aged strip. I can make a really good steak at home. Ribeye is best. Ribeye is always best. Picanha's close. But they did have a ribeye. It was just not aged. It had aged balsamic. I'm sure it would have been great. I kind of, in hindsight, I kick myself for not trying to trade a bite of my Kona crusted aged strip with somebody who got the ribeye. The ribeye did look fantastic. I do have a picture. But I went with the Kona dry aged strip with shallot butter. It was fantastic. Ate the whole thing. It was delicious. They had sea bass. They had veal chop. I think Wonder got the veal chop. That looked good as well. But I'm a steak guy. We're at a steakhouse. I gotta go with the steak. Bierski got the gorgonzola crusted dry aged strip. I almost went with that. I'm a big cheese fan. The thing is, it's like I don't want to just taste the cheese. I'm here for the steak. I want to taste the steak by itself more. So the Kona was the play, even though the gorgonzola crusted strip was really good. There was mashed potatoes. There was lobster mac and cheese. There was Brussels sprouts with bacon. There was asparagus. I didn't touch the asparagus. I didn't touch the Brussels sprouts. It's vacation. The dessert platter was really good too. I'm not a big sweet tooth, but I should have gone for the asparagus. Asparagus is one of my better desserts. One of my better vegetables that I like, but I didn't touch it. I didn't touch it at all. Nor the Brussels sprouts. Brussels sprouts can be really bad if done poorly, but I'm sure they would have done it well. I should have at least tried it. I can't say that I can rate those because I didn't even partake. But let's go. We got a group shot. So shout out to Pokemon Wonder on this one. And shout out to Radar. So Radar was actually over at this table with Trackstar and his buddy. Radar got accidentally not included in the photo. So Wonder photoshopped him in here. He was in the room. He was right over here. Shout out to Wonder too. Like I feel we should have asked someone to take the picture because like Wonder was out of this one. You'll see in a minute a group photo that I took that I'm not a part of, and you just see the back of Wonder's head because I didn't like call attention to everyone. Wonder did the thing with the glass. He got everyone to look. But yeah, great group of people. S. Devney, I believe is his username. One guy who at every convention, it's like I didn't talk to everybody. I didn't even hardly meet some of these people. He's one who, like, I look back at this picture and it's like, man, I didn't even really hardly talk to him all weekend. I think he might have been in Ray's section. I'm not entirely sure. But there's Ryan. Hung out with him a bunch at the public house a couple different nights. You've got Drew again. You got Luke. You got Pokestone. You got Trackstar, as I said. I sat at this table with Wonder to my right. Grimer. Charlie. Bierski. And then Jesse. Why am I forgetting? His name's Jesse. And then I'm forgetting his username. Will his username come to me? I'm gonna pause really quickly so I can find his username. I literally paused, and then 2 seconds later, I didn't find it. I just remembered it right after I paused. Gildry. I hope I'm right. I hope I'm right with one of the two. Jesse, Gildry, if you're watching. Gildry actually vended right next to me too, so I was between him on my left, and then Hoot Benji on my right. And then in the back you got Sterling, you got Ray, you got Andy Northwoods. I got to meet him for the first time. Got to meet him, his whole family at the convention Saturday. He came up and we chatted a little bit. You got Fuji-san back there. You got Java Okuma back there. You got Hoot. I think I already said Kevin Bierski. You got Jake and Sarah. You got Ava, Dylan, and Zach. So yeah, absolute like phenomenal crew that we had there. We had this back party room. We had like 3 wait staff personalized, ready for us. Just taking care of the room. It was great. Great food, great people, great times. Just highlight definitely Rusty's, this, and then we'll get to Wonder's house. Those were like the 3 key, and then the public house, the nights at the public house. Like the con was great, everything was great, but the best, most memorable parts are always the ones outside of the convention walls. At least for me. A lot of business being talked about, a lot of life, a lot of other things too. It's not all business. It's not all Pokemon. We're not talking about vintage versus modern, at least not the whole time. We're not talking about, a little bit of CT scanning talk was going on. CT scanning was like the hot topic, just came out the week before I made the live stream. CT scanning, actually at one point, I don't go on Discord too much on these weekends, but maybe the last 5 minutes winding down before bed. I think CT scanning actively went from 75 a pack down to like 15 a pack while we were at the show. And I think I was at the convention and I heard someone talking about it. Did you see how much cheaper it got? Yada yada. That was one thing that I had said. Like, it's only going to get cheaper. These are the first people. This is before it's refined, before competitors come in. It's only going to get cheaper. Anyways, not to pivot into Pokemon talk. Let's talk extracurriculars. There might have been a Gem Mint Pokemon back rub or 2 going around the table. The food. So this was the food. You got your calamari. You got your bacon stuff there. You got your wedge salad. You got the dessert platter that I put. This is not my ribeye. This, I believe, was... Whose ribeye was this that I took a picture of? Grimer's. That must have been Grimer's. Grimer, if you're watching, I wish I had offered to trade you a bite of my Kona dry-aged New York strip for your ribeye, because it looked fantastic. I didn't get to try it. But the 3 desserts there, and that was what I plucked off the dessert tray. I'm not a big sweet tooth. These 2 things were fantastic, whatever they were going back to the menu. This thing was not for me. Way too chocolatey. I'm not a big chocolate guy. If I have chocolate, it has to be cut with vanilla ice cream, has to be cut with whipped cream, whatever it may be. That was way too chocolatey for me, but I'm sure it was good for people who like chocolate. It was all fantastic. This has to be shown. So this is what a properly finished steak looks like. It was a bone-in New York strip. So I if I'm at home, I'm picking up that bone and I'm going to town. We were at a fancy restaurant. I was wearing gym shorts and a t-shirt, whatever I was doing. I wasn't gonna go that. I wasn't gonna do that. Normally, I will pick it up. I'll take a bite. I'll let the kids take a bite if they want it. I'll let the dog finish it off. I left some meat on the bone there. I'm a little bit ashamed of, but this is a picture of shame. This is Bierski going home with his doggy bag. The whole time he was eating, he's like, "Oh man, this is so good," but I'm starting to get full. He's like, "I don't know what's going on when I go to these events." He's like, "Greeny's always picking on me. When I go to these events, I just can't eat." And I had to take a picture. I had to capture the shame. That's his walk of shame with the doggy bag heading out the door. I think the only one who took a doggy bag out the door. He did. I didn't take the picture for this presentation, but he did finish it off the next morning. I will say he showed a picture of that on his plate and he polished it off. I mean, a great breakfast. I did not have as great of a breakfast as Kevin did, but a little bit shameful to be leaving such a delicious dinner with so much uneaten steak. Like, what are we doing here? We got to figure that out. We got to get you eating your dinners. After Capitol Grill, we went back and we found ourselves at the public house again. Played a bunch of darts again, and a lot of the people, not everyone by any means, but a bunch of these people, like Drew, Luke, a lot of these people did make their way there. I know Zach and crew. A lot of people would hang out over by the TV, hang out over in like a lounge area. But every time I found myself going to the dartboard, I love just playing games, hanging out. Great mood in there, great food, great beers, and like games. And it's not so loud, you don't have to scream to each other. Given that I chatted till 4 a.m. on Thursday, and then playing basketball in the heat, talking all day, my voice is not strong. Like, I always have a drink during a live stream or during a long video. Because if I talk for like an hour, 2 hours straight, if I talk loud for hours and hours straight and don't sleep much and maybe have some alcohol, I lose my voice so quickly. The last few cons, I've been pretty good about not losing my voice. This one I did because it was like Thursday night, 4 a.m., Friday night, 2 a.m., Saturday night, 2 a.m. Sunday, I had like almost no voice. I babied it really well on Sunday, and I ended up getting it back quicker than I would have expected, would have normally. It's Friday right now when I'm recording. I could have done this video on like Wednesday. I had my voice back fully by then, but I just decided to do it tonight. Anyways, we closed down the bar again on Saturday night at the public house. Charlie threw darts for the first time ever. Literally had never thrown darts in his life. And he got a bullseye. Like, it wasn't one of his first darts, but it was only a few sets of throws. And he was like, I mean, people were hitting I'm not going to name names, but people were hitting the wall. People were hitting the chalkboard where we were keeping score. Charlie was putting them all on the board. Like, he was crushing it. It may be a future dart prodigy if he keeps up with it. And then we get to Wonder. So, again, that was Saturday night. That was 2 a.m. Back in bed, 2:30 a.m. Wake up. I did not go to the convention at like 8 a.m. I probably went to the convention at like 9:30. I still had my vendor badge. I could waltz right through during VIP time because I had my vendor badge, but I did not vend. I set up, I bought from Pooping Turtle 69, and I set those up with Hoot Hoot, as I showed earlier, Benji, and he sold the Bubble Mew for me. But I hung out maybe at the convention from 9:30 till 1:30 or so. And I hung out with, I walked the whole floor. I bought some of the Lego minifigures for my kids, some of the ones they didn't have. I ended up getting them as souvenirs. I went shopping in my own office, and I got them some sitting cuties they didn't have yet. I'm not going to buy a sitting cutie or a plushie at the convention for 25, 30 bucks when I've got the ones I bought on Pokemon Center 15, 16, 17 bucks. So I did buy them Lego minifigures at the con. I got them a bunch of cards that I have yet forgotten to give them yet, but I will be adding some cards to their binders. There are actual mementos from Charlotte, but then they don't know any better. I give them mementos that came from Charlotte, but they're actually from my office, my deep sitting cutie inventory. So I did raid that for a couple plushies for each of them. But yeah, hung out at the convention. I did a quick lap through everywhere. I'm like, maybe something will catch my eye. Maybe I'll find like a unique random gift for my kids that I don't have at home anyways. And nothing really did. I ended up just running into people, saying hi, chatting. I ended up sitting down within Zach. Zach bought out a section, and he like bought the table and stuff that like he bought everything from one set of people. Literally bought their wagon that they wheeled their inventory in, bought their cases, bought everything. He bought someone out, sat down at their table, took over their table. So I hung out with him there a while, talked with Charlie a bunch, talked with everybody within the sections a bunch. Saturday, I vended, so like I didn't really talk to the people in Ray's section. I didn't really talk to the people in Jake's section. So I bounced around more. Rusty actually set up, Jake had like 4 or 5 tables for the event. He actually allowed Rusty to set up with one of them. So I went over to Jake's area. I talked with Jake, talked with Rusty. I went over to Ray's area. I talked with him, talked with Stone, talked with Ryan, talked with everybody as much as I could. Checked out what they had. We had a couple of vendor POV videos going on. But yeah, great time. Convention went quick though. John had to leave fairly early. So John was actually going over to Wonders at like 2. I rode with him. Figure I catch a ride. I'm not gonna spill any beans for him if he's gonna share what he ended up buying. I'm sure at some point some of that will be shared, but he picked up a pretty decent collection on Charlotte weekend. So I helped him sleeve up, card saver a lot of that, take it out of binders so that he could travel back without it getting damaged. So I spent maybe an hour helping him do that. And a lot of us just watched. Chef. Bless you, Chef. Amazing person. Such little sleep. If you didn't watch Friday, we had Poke Flips with Chef on. The only guy in our group that did Gen Con and also did Collecticon. He slept an hour, 2 hours, whatever it was. He ran to the convention, say hi to a bunch of the people, and then he went over to Wonder's house and he started cooking. We were watching him make all the food. We helped a little bit here and there. Kevin and I will show, we helped grill a bunch of corn for one of the things that was made. But most part we were watching him, and he was a champ. He was cutting fruits and he was prepping the fillets. We actually had like 3 whole fillets. He demonstrated to me how to do it. I watched him do 2 of them, and then he let me do the third. It's like I came around the table, I came around the countertop, and he was there, and he was like I mean, he had already talked me through how to do it, and then he just like reassured me what to pull apart with your fingers, what to cut, what to do with the chain and the silver skin and the fingers and the all that stuff. Like, thank you, Chef. I think Chef is one who watches these recaps. I cannot thank you enough for how that was awesome. That was awesome. That was definitely a highlight within the highlight of Wonder's house. Definitely really cool to be able to be instructed on. And someday, maybe again. Someday, maybe we'll do a half a cow. Maybe we'll really be able to step up the butchering. Maybe butcher up a couple tomahawks, throw them on the smoker, throw them on the grill at my house. We'll see where the future takes us. But great time there hanging out. So one thing that I forget, there's like some I don't know if it's not a paradox, or it's something where once you realize something for the first time, once you learn something new, you see it more and more elsewhere. So at New Jersey, there was a place down the street called Chamois. And I had never heard of chamois, but like apparently it's this sauce stuff that you throw over fruits and you put this tahini on it. It was really good. I don't know exactly what it is. I had some of it in New Jersey. 2 weeks later, I had some of it that Chef made in Charlotte. Really good. Here's Bierski. Me and Bierski were manning the grill. We were so we did the corn and we did the chicken, and then Chef actually brought the fillets out on the grill just to sear them on all the sides, get them nice and crisp on the outside. Then he took them inside to the oven to get that nice medium rare finish. But Chef he had some helpers, but like to the extent that they were helpful. He had the MVP helper of Wonder's wife. So Wonder's wife was in there, help making some little different hors d'oeuvres, appetizers. She made the rice. She was making the rice was fantastic too. I don't know if it had some special name or whatever, some kind of rice. It was fantastic. So he had the MVP S tier helper in Wonder's wife, and then he had a bunch of C tier like off the bench people that not too used to the spotlight with cooking. But we did what we could. Little bit of Chef like, oh man, are you gonna actually finish cooking that? Are you gonna cook all the sides or just two of them? But we did what we could, and it all came out great. So yeah, we did the corn. Over here there was washer toss game going on. There was a slack line over there. I think I had said that once I got several IPAs deep, I was gonna hit the slack line. It's probably better that I didn't. There was also a game of horseshoes going on. Well, a bunch of games of horseshoes going on. I do have a group shot of everybody. We had some Quaxleys there, so we always get the Quaxley heads on them. But yeah, you've got Ivy. Ivy was here for this one. She was not there at the prior. You got Medikai again. You got Jake and Sarah. You got Zach, Basic, Luke, Ava. This John, I'm going to question Wonder's Photoshop skills. So props to him. John had to leave earlier. He had a flight that he had to catch. The lighting is off. The lighting is a little weird. John's coloration looks a little odd, but he's in there. He's in there. He made the photo. You got me, you got Fuji-san, you got Ray, you got Benji, Charlie, Bierski, Java, Chef. Nice addition here. Chef, we didn't have him Saturday or Friday at Rusty's. You got Rusty and his wife, Anna. Then you got Chef and his wife. Ladies, something like that. Probably pronouncing it wrong, but very gracious host. As with Rusty, beautiful family, gracious host. Like, thank you so much for having us. Wonder if you're watching. Wonder and wife, family if you're watching. The kids were playing like Legends Arceus in the living room for a lot of it. Talk with them a little bit. Great people. Great family. Great time. One of the rooms, the dining room that some people were eating at, the food was fantastic. Kind of out of order with the timing on some of these. I show us eating and then I show him cooking. But yeah, this was the corn thing. I don't know what it's called. It was really good. Corn and a bunch of other things mixed in. This is Chef butchering some of the fillets. He did the two, and then he had me do the third one with his instruction. A lot of hand holding through the third one that I did. Here's people playing washer toss. So late in the night, I actually took a consignment. I took a consignment from Fuji-san, and one of them is actually, I believe it was Sterling's card. I have it written down somewhere. I'm not going to mix up whose cards is whose, but I believe one was Sterling's. And yeah, I picked up a bunch of consignments, so nice getting a little bit of business in while we're hanging out at Wonder's house. There's another one in the, we ripped a bunch of Lorcana in here later. Shout out to Ivy. She brought, I believe it was Ivy's Lorcana. Again, we were ripping stuff at Rusty's. It's a Pokemon, well, it's not a Pokemon convention. It's a trading card convention. you're gonna be ripping a bunch of stuff. I don't think I ripped anything too crazy. Somewhere in my bags, actually, I saved some Lorcana cards. I need to find. I don't know where I put those. I need to find those because I can give some of those. I pulled some of those aside to give to my kids too. I forgot about those. But there's me hanging out with Chef, Jake, and Sarah, and then Luke and Fuji-san. Just a great time. These photos do not do it justice. This is a nice little. He didn't cut both yet, but the perfect like medium round the fillet is delicious. The rice stuff, he did a little bow tie pasta thing. We got the chicken there. Does not do it justice. It does not look the way that I slop it onto a plate is not as appetizing, not representative of how delicious that it was. But that's everything. That was my. We don't need to be that close. That was my convention. That was awesome. Let me see. Oh yeah, one thing I wanted to comment on. I rarely do I delete comments in a live stream, but we had one of our trolls that comes back time and time again. He's been timed out a couple times. There was a little bit of like drama, if you want to call it that. I talked about it. It got talked about in like Java's live stream, and in the future, one thing like what happened. Basically, the bill got split. I tried asking while we were at dinner. I tried asking, can you give us individual checks? Can you even give us table checks? We had 5 tables. They had to just do it all in one. They were not tracking. They were tracking how many drinks were bought on one running tab. They didn't have it individualized to the table or to the person. In the future, what we should do, though, so that everyone doesn't evenly split dinner, because that's what happened Saturday night. We had one big bill. We tipped like 30% on it because it was 3 designated people within that area. They did not include tip, surprisingly. They did not include like large party tip, which was kind of surprising to me. But we tipped extremely well because they gave us an extremely awesome experience. But unfortunately, like there's no good way. There's no good way to fix it because someone was bound to lose. Someone was going to lose either way. If you didn't buy alcohol, you ended up subsidizing all the people who had alcohol. That's just the way that it went. If it didn't go that way, and I've had this with friends and family, I've had this with Pokemon people, I've paid for the bill, and then I've trusted people to give me how much they owe. You have some people contributing way too much. You have some people contributing way too little. And in the end, I've literally had where like my contribution should have been X. I've had to pay 2 or 3X to cover shortfalls. Whether people aren't calculating tax, aren't calculating tips, whether people forgot about drinks they had, there's no good way to fix it. But moving ahead, what we need to do next time, myself, others, we need to just ask them ahead of time. Like, hey, can we do separate checks? We don't want like, or can we do food on one? Can we do drinks on one? A minor little thing I just wanted to cover. I wasn't blocking the guy because I was trying to censor and pretend like that didn't happen. It got talked about in a couple live streams. It got talked about privately by people. Overall, though, like one little hiccup, one little thing. I think if you take into account everything that happened over the weekend, the free meals at Rusty's, not free for Rusty, but like the things at Rusty's, the drinks that were bought, I think everyone was fine. Hopefully everyone was fine. Hopefully nobody left thinking they were like so far behind or a big issue. I don't want to end there, so I'm gonna continue on with a little bit. Let me cover my my thing, but I did want to address that because I had that on my notes. I meant to address it earlier in the thing, but I completely forgot about it. So shout out to everybody. Shout out to everybody who's already done the recaps. I know PK went live. I didn't see him this time. I didn't get to meet him this time, but like I know Orion Sires. There's tons of people who went to this thing that weren't in our like circle really, that didn't come to these events. There's so much content about Charlotte Collecticon. So definitely go check it out. Check out other people's. There was actually, I guess, a little bit more on the drama front. I heard something about like a resealed box being sold to a vendor. I don't know what happened with that, but more things to follow up on potentially. I never had any boxes come to me. I did. Oh yeah, one thing I forgot to show for pickups. I can't show for pickups. I probably have 8 altards that I bought. I know there was a Gengar VMAX. I know there was what else was there? I don't remember what else there was. I looked at like dozens of altards and I pulled out like, he's like, I'll sell whatever ones you want at 80%, I'll sell them to you. So naturally I go through them and I just quickly look at them. The ones that are 10s I'm going to buy. The ones that weren't 10s I didn't buy. And he was like, I told him what I was going to do. It's not like I told him I'm going to look for ones that could 10, and he was happy to sell. He traded them in trade towards something. So you have what I sold. My net margin on a lot of the stuff is very, very thin. A lot of that stuff I bought 70 to 80%. I took a buyout of 80%. I sold some of them out 95 to 100%. So overall, my average margin might have been 15-20% tops. But it was a great weekend, worthwhile for all the other business conversations, all the other things that went on, and I probably have like $1,000 profit once I finish grading those cards and then selling them. I think I'm gonna go 8 for 8 with 10s. Maybe I'll talk about it in a live stream. Maybe I'll remember to cover that later. But yeah, it's nice when you can get some buys, get some trades where you can make more money to like pay for the flights, pay for the table, pay for the crazy fancy dinner Saturday night, whatever it may be. So I think that's everything. Yeah, that looks like everything. That covers my whole notes section. But oh yeah, one thing, I know I took a screenshot of it when it happened. But some of the Collecticon stories that have happened around the scooters, like Nick getting, I forget if Nick ran into Greeny or if Greeny ran into Nick. Whatever happened, there was a crash of some sort between two big dudes. I tried riding Saturday night after the dinner. We went to, or was it Sunday night? I think it was Sunday night after. Yeah, Sunday night we did not go to the bar again. We did not go to the public house. I actually went back to Charlie's hotel or Zach's hotel. I went back to Zach's hotel with Charlie and Zach, and we just hung out in the lobby and we just talked for a while. So we were just hanging out there after leaving Justin's. I didn't really want the party to end. Didn't really go to the public house though. But on the way back from that, I'm walking back. Actually, Zach is walking back, and I part ways with Zach. He's going to his hotel. I'm going to my hotel, and I see a scooter, and I'm like, okay, it's 2:30 in the morning. I've had a few IPAs. It wouldn't even let me. They shut down at like 10 p.m. Apparently, the scooters work from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. I did not have to have that happen. That would have been yeah. It didn't happen anyway. So I wanted to at some point I want to ride a scooter. I mean, I need to, before the IPAs get opened, before 10 p.m. comes and the curfew for the scooters kicks in, I want to go for a little bit of a scooter ride around town with a bunch of people, because I know that's happened before, but I've never partook in it. And before the dinners, before the IPAs, that is the time to do it anyways. But yeah, with that, let me know what you thought. I'll be interested to check out the retention on this. Usually it's right down the tubes, out of the gate, as all my videos are. But there's always that 10-20% holding out till the very end. So if you made it to the very end, I don't know if there's an emoji for a scooter, but if there's not an emoji for a scooter, just write scooter. Because at next Collecticon in Chicago, I will have to find an excuse to ride some scooters earlier in the day. But I think that one's pretty close. The thing is, the convention center is always so close to the hotel. You don't really need the scooter, which is great. But I do want to go on a little scooter trip around Chicago, maybe. Anyways, that is all I have for today. Somehow, I kept it 4 nights in Charlotte. I kept it under an hour. I appreciate you all watching. I will catch you all later.